Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for today. This is a continuation of my in-depth updated guide series. We're on to mental this time. As per usual, the pinned comment in the comment section will have timestamps to each section of this video. So if you're looking for just the precision section, the might, controlling, whichever is more relevant to you, you can find that in that in those timestamps and skip right to that section. Now, as normal, with this updated guide series, I'm focusing mainly on the relevant changes. So if there's any spec changes, loadouts, rotations, this can be found in this video. I'm not focusing on like the background testing, supercharge testing, video footage, stuff like that. You can find that in the previous mental guide that I've done, which is also linked in the comment section, the original one, which has a little bit more background information. This is basically just straight to the point, what's changed with mental and what are the options now for both precision and might. So as per usual, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section below. Take care, guys, and hope you enjoy. Okay, so on to melee might, or melee might, as someone's going to correct my pronunciation in the comment section. I do want to get a disclaimer out right away. I could basically insert any power. It could be nature, it could be rage, it could be fire, quantum, obviously, whatever. Insert any power, and you're instantly going to make it better by adding Whirling Dervish to it. I could add Whirling Dervish to every single rotation of pretty much 99.9% of every power set for might, and it's going to do better just because that's how good Whirling Dervish is and how good super speed is. But that doesn't help you if you're flight or skimming or acro. And then the comment section is just, what am I doing if I'm those powers, or what do I substitute? You can't, because there is no power that's like Dervish to substitute. So what I'm going to be doing is, going forward, I'm not going to be using the movement mode powers on my rotations for precision and for might, just because it doesn't help everyone out there unless you're super speed, and if you're super speed, you know to put Dervish on just because it's so much better. So basically, yes, I'm running speed drain. That's just because Bolt Barrage and Mass Hysteria are garbage, absolutely terrible. Mental has the worst supercharges out of any power set. They're just awful. Bolt Barrage for 100% is the worst tested. So you're stuck not running any of those. You're stuck either running Neo Venom Boost, but that's a 5,000 at 45%, 45 second cooldown. There's no wipe mod for it. So then you want to run, just to proc the Eye of the Gemini, if you have that at 160, you want to be running Speed Drain, Devastating Flip, Vacuum Bubble. I forget what the skimming one is. But yeah, so it does. There is technically movement mode power there, but each movement mode has a 25% super. Worst case scenario, you could run like Pheromone Bloom from the iconic tree, but you just insert your 25% super there just because you want to proc Gemini as often as you can, or you can run Neo Venom. It's just that you proc it a lot often. Because I'm not running, which I'll get into in a moment, I'm not running Soul Cloak. I can always have this supercharge because it's a 25%er. So we'll kind of touch on the gear first. Doesn't really matter what your weapon is. It's kind of blast adapter. Head mods are going to be supercharged Speed Drain 3 or supercharged Vacuum Bubble or supercharged Devastating Flip, whichever it is. Neck mods obviously going to be Escalating Might. Back mod doesn't really matter for mental. You could have Berserker because you're not running Horrific Visage. Chest mod is going to be Penetrating Strikes. Leg mod doesn't matter. You're not running Cryokinesis half the time anyway. Doesn't matter. Trinkets, you could have the Shadow Bat, the Lantine Seahorse, the Summer Event Trinket for melee. And then obviously just your DPS trinkets, Supply and Orbital. That's all fine. In terms of artifacts, it's going to be Solar Amplifier, the Grim, and Eye of the Gemini with max damage on the hands or improved stealth. If you find you're getting kicked out of stealth a lot, my rotation, you go into stealth only for like a fraction of a second, but if you do find you're getting knocked out of it and can't hit the power that's in there, then switch to improved stealth, or you can run max damage. So in terms of spec, nothing's changed. Super powered, critical attack chance, critical attack damage, might and power. Iconic powers, you're taking New Venom just in case you use that. Obviously you need Sonic Cry for this as well, and you need Robot Sidekick. In terms of super speed, I just spec this as a kind of tell. You don't need these. You need the resistance ones, and you would need your speed drain, or if you're super speed, you're pre-running Dervish weapons. You just have one skill point in to take the weapon tree. So in terms of loadouts, I'm running Sonic Cry, Invisibility, Telekinetic Bolt, Mass Tear, Robot Sidekick, and your 25% super. And then on visibility, I have Psychic Prism, and then Ambush Pain, just in case there's one ad alive, or if I'm stuck at range, I can hit Mass Lev, and then putting Neovenom Boost on invisibility just for another supercharge option. Because you could run two. You could go into invisibility, use Neovenom Boost, and then run speed drains after that. That's your choice. And feed off the two supers. So we can kind of get into the rotation here in a sec. So basically, let's show. Well, I guess the main point I should go on to first, actually, the reason why I have Sonic Cry to set up days for TK Bolt, Mass Terror runs up the Terror PI, and the Terror PI is taken care of from the Grim. As you can see, Mental, Terrified. So that means if I run the Grim Pet, I also get the 2k extra damage. This is at 160, because at the 120, the Grim Pet would only be single target PI, which wouldn't be mattering. But for AoE, you get the extra pet damage as well as you get the Terror PI. So that means Mass Terror always has the power interaction active, and then you're setting up the Daze PI for TK Bolt with Sonic Cry. So that's why that's in that order. So let's get to the rotation here. Okay, so as you can saw, as evidenced even by the last one, Mental is by far the least power efficient power set in the entire game. Nothing comes close besides like Atomic. It's just ridiculous where it's, invisibility is 300 power cost just to hit invisibility, and then Psychic Prism's 300 power cost. So that's basically 16,000 power in like a fraction of a second. TK Bolt's 300 power cost, Mass Terror's 300 power cost. You got the damage reduction from using Psychic, and then Sonic Cry's at 200 power cost. So it's just Mental has to go to these extreme lengths, just to be able to do well. If you are super speed, yeah, you could put Dervish on. Dervish basically, it's only 200 power cost, but because of the duration of it, you're saving power because you're not using as often, because you're letting the full duration extend. So once again, yes, these rotations could be even better with Dervish, but once again, I mentioned that I don't want to use that just because if you're fight skimming your acro, it doesn't matter to you. But still, it's not completely terrible. 43, 46, the 20 obviously ran out of power. You can only do like 20 seconds of parsing with a controller. It's ridiculous. I got 50 there. That one, I screwed up the soda clip, so that was a bit slower at 36. And the crit percent chance as well. So it's just... take it what it is. Mental melee has never been the upper echelon. It's always been be able to you can get by with it. You can throw Dervish on to make it a little bit more unique if you're super speed, but if you're acro fighter skimming, you can use this. Still do competitive damage. By no means is it like upper tier, but you still get through with it. And it's just unfortunate that Mental still has the power issues that it always has. Okay, so in terms of Might single target, it doesn't actually do that too bad on its own. You got Psychic Prison, Invisibility. On Invisibility, you have Ambush, Sleep, and Pain Blast. Now, Mental single target, it's the same. Mental is very similar to Gadgets. The only thing Gadgets has obviously is a suppressor turret for the extra clip, but you still have invisibility, stealth. You still have a move that you can jump clip, where instead of ambush sleep, it's cuff 'em, and then instead of surprise attack, it's pain blast. So same concept. You're hitting sleep and then jump canceling that into pain blast, and then basically continue rotation. Amplified heat vision, cryokinesis until they come off cooldown with sidekick, and then speed drain, devastating flip, vacuum bubble, whatever 25% supercharge you want to put in there, just to proc it as often as you can. You could put Neon Venom Boost if you want to have a little bit faster of a clip with cryokinesis. But because, like I said before, I'm not running Soul Cloak, I'm not earning supercharge as quickly as I previously would have running Soul Cloak. So if it's a 25% super, I'm always going to have that regardless. So that's, I'm never not going to have speed drain because of that being 25% plus having it in the head mod as well. Speed drain, I have it somewhere. Yeah, but the supercharged speed drain 3. There it is. So with that head mod, and yeah, being at only 25%, I'm not going to have an issue earning that consistently throughout the raid to proc Gemini as often as possible. So let's kind of get into the rotation here. So just like with the melee, suffers the same thing. Very, very power intensive. Not as much as the melee rotation, but almost the same. 30, 31, 22, that's where I think the Sparring Target was low on power, or could have just had bad crits. The other thing, the main thing is if Ambush Sleep and Pain Blast don't crit at all, because these are your major hitters. Like Ambush Sleep, you can crit up to 30k just by itself. Then you can get the nice crit from Pain Blast up to 70k on that one. Even with Supply Drop, I've seen this hit over 100k just this power alone, with like a Supply Drop and Trinket and such. So if none of these crit, you can have a bit lower parse, but that's not as realistic. You saw like one parse, nothing crit, see only 26k max. Where if you get even some of them, either one of them crits, like that's Pain Blast crit, that's an Ambush Sleep crit. So same thing. So 31, 28, 30. So once again, mental single target might is still very good. It's mid range. Psychic Prison and Ambush Sleep and Pain are still mid range. Obviously, you get a little bit of damage or the closer you are, so you can still Psychic Prison. I think it should, yeah, it still hits that range. And then same thing with Ambush Sleep. Same thing. So it's still mid-range. If you're going to do max range, then you just have to do, well, it's the same thing as Gadgets. If you're max range, you can't use Surprise Attack. You can't use Cuff 'em. You just have to use like Mass Lev instead of Psychic Prism and just not do Ambush Pain Blast. But it's still mid-range is still very viable in endgame content. And you're still sitting at a rotation that can still get in the 30s. And that's mental single target getting in the 30s. That's not bad at all. Okay, so in terms of precision spec, we can kind of get into that here. It's always going to be weapon expert, it's always going to be critical attack chance, critical attack damage, putting everything into precision and the rest into might and power. In terms of iconic powers, Neon Venom Boost for a supercharge, robot sidekick, you don't really have to mess around with anything else. In terms of super speed, if you are super speed, you'd 100% be taking Whirling Dervish, 100% be taking Vortex Trap, and 100% be taking Tornado Pull for the single targets and then the resistance ones. For weapons, same thing. Obviously, it's going to be full bow and take Smoke Bomb Mastery, full martial arts. If you're doing the single target one, you'd still max out bow, and then you'd max out dual wield as well to get flurry shot and expulsor shot. In terms of gear, For obviously dual wield is going to be for single target, bow is going to be for melee with blast adapter, head mod critical menace 3, neck mod is going to be relentless precision, back mod you're going to want accelerated menace, the chest mod penetrating strikes, whatever, extended supercharge, whatever you want to run, legs doesn't matter, restorative cryokinesis, trinkets doesn't really matter as well. You could run the shadow bat, lenten seahorse, you could run the OMAC trinket for some extra weapon critical attack damage 5%, DPS trinket, max damage or improved stealth depending on if you're going to knock out invisibility. Artifacts, 100% can have the Venomist, 100% can have the Grim, and then third one, you've got some choices: Sparring Eye, the Gemini. There's a bunch of different options. I don't have a third pure Prec artifact like the Sparring Eye or the Cog or anything like that, so I have to run the Gemini. So in terms of the Precision melee spec, once again, I guess disclaimer here, like if I was super speed, I'd just be doing this. Just like you guys saw in the Quantum video, or if you're just checking this out, all it is Smoke Bomb, Whirling Dervish, Smoke Bomb, Vortex Trap, Whirling Dervish, Vortex Trap, and you guys get the picture. That's all your rotation is. That is the meta rotation right now for precision, and then you just be clipping invisibility or whatever you want. But every single, if you're serious about precision DPS, every single serious Prec DPS will be 100% super speed and will be 100% using Dervish and Vortex Trap, or at least Dervish. You're going to see that in every single video right now until super speed is kind of patched or taken care of. They're always going to have Whirling Dervish, they're always going to have Vortex Trap. Single targets always going to have Tornado Pull 9 times out of 10. They're always going to phase dodge 9 times out of 10 as well. So it's just, this is what it is super speed, but that doesn't help you if you're acro, flight, or skimming, because there's no comparable powers at all. The reason why is you can weapon tap cancel Dervish and you can jump clip Vortex Trap. No other movement modes have powers like that, so you don't have that ability. So to keep this as a universal guide, we have this loadout. So we have Mass Terror, which is, you have the Terror PI from the Grim artifact, so you don't have to worry about setting up Mass Terror PI. And Mass Terror PI with the PI is very good. You have that clip with Menace, and then you have Cryokinesis. Cryokinesis will be clipping the Invisibility, and then on Invisibility you have Mass Terror as well. And the reason why I'm doing both is because you already have the Terror PI set up. Mass Terror is going to be some nice burst damage, and since you're using it 3 seconds later, and because you're doing smoke bombs in between, there's no issue with the cooldown. So it's basically, and the animation Mass Terror and Invisibility will kick you out of it to save you that animation time. So it's basically just Mass Terror clipped, smoke bomb, cryokinesis clip, invis, Mass Terror clipped, and then back into normal with sidekick out. That's essentially what it works like there. Because there's no other clipping, like if it was gadgets or something, you could do a clipping move, but if you're not using Dervish and Vortex Trap, this is the option that you have here for that. So let's kind of get into the rotation here. Menta still being power heavy in precision as well. 44, 51, 43, 41. With the power issues, it all depends on the crits as well. Like if you're using a rotation with obviously Dervish and Vortex, like I keep saying, then you'll be consistently in the 50s, just because you are always hitting a power, getting a little bit of might damage, and clipping the tail end of Smoke Bomb. You don't have that as much with might. And the issue is, even if I try to run like Psychic Prism or something for like a dot, then your Mass Terror is 300, Menace is 300, Psychic Prism is 300, Invisibility would be 300, and then clipping Mass Terror back on that. So basically, I'd be sitting at like a 8, 16, 24, 32, 40,000 power every 12 seconds. So which is not even realistic for precision. So 40,000 power plus Robot Psychic. So you're left with using Cryokinesis just to save a little bit on the power. But you're still getting, mid 40s to low end 50s with it, which is still, not terrible for, if you're flight, skimming, or acro. Okay, so on to precision single target. Once again, if I were super speed, I'd be telling you to use like Tornado Pull instead of TK Pull, because Tornado Pull has the, doesn't need a PI, has the higher base damage and higher base critical chance. I'd be telling you to use Phase Dodge, but I'm trying to make this a universal guide series, so I'm trying to lean away from the movement mode power. So I've got TK Pull, clip with Menace into Invisibility. Into Invisibility has Ambush Pain Blast. Perfect Visage, same thing as like the Quantum setup. This is Supercharged Generator. This is just the case where if you are clipping a Trinket or clipping a Soda or something like that, you could sneak in Perfect Visage for some extra ability. Normally, if I was super speed, I'd be running Phase Dodge here, and then I'd be running Tornado Pull here. So Tornado Pull, clip with Menace, Invisibility, Pain Blast, and then I could even sneak in another Tornado Pull right after, clip with Phase Dodge to save some time. Use that. Basically, that would be my super speed rotation, but I can't use that because if you're flight, skimming, or acro, those moves aren't going to apply, and there's no move to substitute. Well, technically, acro could use like Zip High Attack or Grapple Line. That's very similar damage as Tornado Pull, but it has no clipping move like Phase Dodge, and even I think the base critical damage is lower on Grapple Line Attack and Zip Tie. I could be wrong on that, but once again, that's for another video. Back to where what are we new for? Yeah, Rivik and TK Pull. And TK Pull, it would help with the Daze PI. Something else may set up the Daze PI in the raid, but it's just not practical to set up a Daze PI for Prec, but the base damage is still pretty high on TK Pull. But that's the loadout there, and let's get into the rotation. Alright, so I jumped ahead and did a couple other parses because the target was dying, and I think I messed up a couple times. So it gives a good idea overall impression. 25, 28, 20 is where I screwed up and had no crits, and then the target died, so 28, 29. So I'm still getting almost 30k, and that's with much lower prec. compared to what everyone else would be. And like I'm sitting at like 24.5 prec. I know people that are sitting at like 27k prec because I'm not spec prec at all. I don't have prec in the augments. I don't have prec. Oh, sorry, I have prec in the augments, but I don't have prec in the bonus affinities. Don't have prec in the generator mods. I'm completely spec full might. So at 24.5 prec, that's not too bad, at least in my opinion. 28, 29k. If you're sitting at like 26, 27k prec, that's easily mid 30s. Yeah, it's not like super crazy numbers, but once again, if I was using tornado pull and phase dodge, a little bit higher as well. But it gives a good baseline comparison, at least. Okay, on the controlling side, controlling hasn't changed at all since the previous mental guide, which is linked in the comment section below. Phantom Flames is our primary attack debuff because we don't have a choice, because Cryokinesis, when it encases a target, Horrific Visage does not get any supercharge generation. That has been fixed by Batuba. Not at the current release of this video, but it's coming probably in the next game update. So at that point, you would just change Cryokinesis for Phantom Flames. Cryokinesis gives a better CC move because it can encase. It also is a cheaper power cost and a lower cooldown compared to it, so it's just overall a lot better for keeping up my type of rotation where you're constantly using your debuffs on cooldown to maximize your supercharge regen. So right now, until that fix actually releases, you have to run this rotation. After that is fixed, we have the option to run Cryokinesis. So it's still going to be Horrific Visage, Psychic Empowerment. Psychic Shot's going to be your defense debuff. Horrific was the heal. Phantom Flames is the attack one. Grandeur is your aggro dump and shield. And then Bastion is your supercharge. In terms of spec, still always going to be hybrid spec. I've already touched on why hybrid is more beneficial than superpowered. You're still obviously taking critical power chance, critical power magnitude, maxing out might and power, and then putting the rest into vitalization. So that spec once then, that's always stayed the same. In terms of iconic powers, you could take Amazon Deflection if you wanted, just for those, the odd time you may need it in a raid. You don't have to. Super speed movements, same thing. Just take the Speed Force innate, and then the resistance ones. You could take dash attack if you wanted, just to drop down. Doesn't really matter once again. Weapons, Hand Blaster, you're taking just enough to get Solar Flame. And then in terms of gear, Replenishing Adapter is going to be the white mod. The white mod in the head is going to be Supercharged Bastion. The neck mod's obviously going to be Replenishing procs. The back mods are going to be Accelerated Visage. This is important because this is Mental is the only controller power set that has a Supercharged Generator for the Accelerated mod for the Supercharged Generator. So it means it lines up the rotation a little bit nicer, which you'll see in terms of there's no lag on the clip. Chest is always going to be power efficiency. Legs doesn't really matter. Restore to Phantom Flames. Not that the healing scales at all. In terms of artifacts, the Summer Event one's nice because it gives you a little bit of power back. You could run the Central City Trinket, which is there for controller to get a little bit of power back as well. You could run, obviously that's just the Vit Trinket, Orbital, Supply Drop. You've got some options. Primarily you're going to want a Vit Trinket and then some other ones that don't stack, like the controller. Central City doesn't stack with any of these. It doesn't give any personal buffs at all, but you want something just on separate cooldowns. In terms of artifacts, Bottled City Soda, that is very beneficial having it at max rank, just because it restores 5% of max power to the group. So 5% of your max power, which you're always rocking a higher power pool as a combination of your artifacts and your spec. So it does kind of give it like a nice little boost. Artifacts, Parasite Power Harness, Soul Cloak, and Amulet Vow. That's going to be your standard 3 for controlling. So in terms of rotation, once again hasn't changed since the previous one. You're still doing Solar Flame, first debuff clip, second debuff clip, third debuff clip. And the nice thing about Mental, as you saw, there's no lag in when I can hit the Supercharged Generator because it comes off cooldown instantly because of that accelerated mod. So it works out that Mental technically gives the most power regen as well as Supercharged Generator, just because of how smooth that clip is, because it's 10% faster compared to everything else. I missed it at the end there. But that's the rotation there. Same rotation for all the controlling. It's just that now I don't have to. In the previous like controllers like gadgets, Quantum, you have to hold Solar Flame for a little bit before the Supercharged Generator comes off cooldown, so you can use it.